Welcome to Conspiracist. Today we embark on a deep dive into a captivating hypothesis when often relegated to the shadows of mainstream discourse. It's the idea that governments, or maybe conventional institutions more broadly, might be intentionally obscuring evidence, or perhaps just not fully acknowledging signs of what some call ancient astral portals and, well, related phenomena. Our mission, as always, is to explore the various facets of this intriguing theory. We'll examine its origins, its perceived significance and impact, how understanding of it might have evolved over time, and crucially, its practical relevance for you, our listener, in shaping your understanding of reality. We'll be drawing exclusively from the material provided, analyzing these complex concepts professionally and without bias. No endorsement or dismissal here.
It's definitely a fascinating subject to unravel. When we start thinking about portals in this specific context, the source material immediately shows us, well, a whole spectrum of interpretations. It really moves beyond just one simple definition. It shows how this idea has appeared across centuries, mixing with ancient beliefs, spiritual practices, and even, modern scientific questions. This range lets us build a pretty comprehensive picture of what might actually constitute a portal in the bigger sense.
That's a really key starting point. So let's unpack this. Maybe start with what our sources describe as physical gateways. These aren't just abstract notions, they're actual tangible locations, places with real historical and cultural weight. A prime example mentioned is the ancient site known as Pluto's Gate, discovered in Pamukkale, Turkey. It was part of the ancient Phrygian city of Hierapolis. And this wasn't just mythology, it was a physical place that played a very real role in how people back then saw the world.
Exactly. Ancient writers, Strabo is mentioned specifically, give surprisingly detailed descriptions. He paints it as a cave, noting it was just large enough for one person to enter. It had a fenced entrance, a staircase leading down. But what really gave it that mystique, that name Gate to the Underworld, was something observable, something deadly, in fact. Carbon dioxide gas from geothermal activity filled the space. Strabo wrote about watching sparrows thrown in just instantly die. This led the ancient Greeks and Romans in a pretty stark conclusion. This was a literal entrance to Hades, the underworld, ruled by Pluto.
Wow. So it was a spot where the veil between worlds, at least as they saw it, was thin enough that death itself was physically manifest. A gateway.
Precisely. And they didn't just look, they interacted. Rituals were performed right there. Animal sacrifices, often bulls, led to the entrance. The gas would quickly kill them, and this was seen as, well, a direct connection. A successful message to Pluto and the underworld gods. It shows how ancient cultures took natural phenomena they couldn't explain scientifically, in our terms, and gave them huge spiritual meaning. These sites became part of their religion, their whole worldview. It's a compelling case of a real, deadly physical spot, becoming a profound portal in belief.
That's a really striking example of a physical place interpreted as a direct link to another realm. But the material also brings up symbolic and spiritual passageways. These aren't places you physically walk into, but they represent thresholds for transformation. The holy doors, opened by figures like Pope Francis at the Vatican, are a powerful modern example. They're clearly described not as travel points, but as symbolic entryways for spiritual awakening, mercy, connection within faith.
Absolutely. The Holy Doors idea is deep in Catholic tradition, especially during Jubilee years. These doors are, well, a symbolic invitation for believers to enter a deeper relationship with the divine. Passing through represents a spiritual pilgrimage, a kind of cleansing, a fresh start. It's about washing away the past, embracing renewal, enlightenment. The journey is entirely internal, transformative, not physical distance. The power is in the intention, the spiritual resonance for the person and the community.
And building on that idea, the energetic or symbolic gateway, the material also mentions a cosmic event, the Lion's Gate portal. This is described as a specific cosmic alignment, peaking around August 8th each year. So not a physical door, not a church threshold, but an energetic window that's believed to open, allowing for, well, heightened spiritual experiences.
That's right. The Lion's Gate portal is linked to the alignment of the star Sirius with Earth and the Sun. It's associated with a surge of energy, believed to help with spiritual awakening, boost intuition, maybe even manifest abundance. It's seen as a powerful energetic channel, a time when the veil between dimensions supposedly thins out, allowing for more insight, more manifestation. It really shows how the portal concept goes beyond Earth, beyond human-made things. It pulls in celestial mechanics, cosmic consciousness. It suggests that even astrological setups can create these energetic paths for growth, hinting at a living, interconnected universe.
So we've gone from physical caves, thought to lead to the underworld, to symbolic doors for spiritual renewal, and now cosmic alignments opening energetic paths. But the exploration doesn't stop there. The sources also touch on conceptual and fictional portals. And these are fascinating because they often seem to push real-world scientific thought. We're talking here about theoretical ideas like wormholes or concepts from quantum mechanics, suggesting maybe shortcuts through space-time.
Yeah, this is where science fiction often bumps right up against cutting-edge theoretical physics. Wormholes, for example, are these hypothetical tunnels through space-time. They actually come out of Einstein's theory of general relativity. Theoretically, they could connect incredibly distant points in the universe, or maybe even different times, allowing for faster-than-light travel or time shifts. Now, it's purely theoretical, needs exotic stuff to stay open, but mathematically, it's possible. Then you have quantum mechanics, the really strange rules of the subatomic world, ideas like quantum entanglement, two particles linked instantly over distance, or superposition, where a particle is in multiple states at once. Well, they hint at a reality that's much more connected, more fluid than what we see every day. Some theories even explore if these quantum effects mean reality itself has inherent shortcuts or connections, blurring here and there.
It really makes you wonder how much things like, say, the Stargate franchise or the game Portal actually feed scientific curiosity.
Yeah.
They present these possibilities that seem fantastic, but they often draw from emerging science or push the limits of current theories.
Precisely. These stories effectively showcase imaginative possibilities. And arguably, yes, they do inspire real scientific questions about interdimensional travel or space-time shortcuts. The conversation about portals is still very much alive, always testing that line between fantasy and potential reality. Concepts once considered impossible get looked at again as science progresses, as new theories emerge. It shows the human mind, whether through science or story, is always trying to grasp reality's deeper structure.
This fascinating range of portal types brings us right to the heart of the astral portal idea. Astral projection itself, seen as a conscious portal. The material describes it as an intentional out-of-body experience, or OBE. It involves that profound feeling that your consciousness, your awareness, has actually separated from your physical body, leading to this unique state of split awareness where you can perceive your physical body and yourself as separate things simultaneously.
Yes, accounts of astral projection consistently describe a range of vivid, often intense sensations, both leading up to it and during. Things like tingling, feelings like a mild electric shock, or vibrations, often building up to a gradual sense of departure. A feeling of your spirit or consciousness lifting out, separating from the physical form. It's deeply personal, subjective of course, but the common threads and descriptions across different people are quite remarkable. And what's really compelling is the esoteric philosophy behind it, which claims that astral matter permeates all physical.
That's a crucial point, and it really challenges our usual picture of reality. It suggests the astral world isn't some faraway place, a distant galaxy, or separate heaven. Instead, it's described as being above us, below us, on every side of us, through us. It's everywhere, always. Yet it stays intangible, invisible, inaudible, imperceptible to us normally. The sources say this is due to the grossness of the physical body. Basically, our physical senses just aren't tuned to pick up these finer energies. So it paints a picture of this ever-present parallel dimension right here with us, but only really accessible through altered states, like intentional astral projection.
Exactly. Think of it like radio waves or Wi-Fi. They're all around us, filling the room, but we don't notice them until we use a receiver tuned to their frequency. Esoteric philosophy suggests our physical bodies act like a dense filter, making us mostly unaware of the subtle, vibrant reality of the astral plane that's interwoven with ours. So the practice of astral projection becomes the conscious act of tuning your awareness to perceive and interact with this non-physical dimension. And this view is deeply rooted in historical and esoteric traditions. Figures like Muldoon, who explored OOBEs in the early 20th century, and the French writer Jérôme Marcel Louis Forhan, they really engaged in rigorous, almost scientific study of it. Their work highlights its potential not just for exploring, but for real personal development, understanding consciousness itself.
And it goes beyond just personal experience too, doesn't it? The belief in nature spirits, things like fairies and elves and elementals, that's also mentioned. It further shows this historical acceptance of a vibrant, non-physical reality coexisting with ours. These beings, often linked to nature or the elements, are seen as part of this subtle, unseen world that could potentially be accessed.
Precisely. These aren't new ideas. They're woven into folklore, mythology, esoteric wisdom across many cultures globally. This long history of accepting a vibrant, non-physical reality suggests the idea of coexisting dimensions accessible beyond our five senses has been around for a very long time. So astral projection isn't just some isolated modern fad, but maybe a continuation of this ancient human inquiry into the multi-layered nature of existence. It provides a framework where encounters with nature spirits or elementals could be seen as interactions within this permeating astral plane.
Okay, so if these phenomena are real, if these different kinds of portals exist, and if consciousness can travel through them, what's the bigger significance and impact? The sources point to some pretty profound implications. One major one is the potential for the expansion of human consciousness itself. Astral projection is framed as a unique way to learn about consciousness by actually experiencing awareness outside of the body.
The accounts described are really quite compelling. They offer a radical shift in perspective. People describe experiences like flying as far as space and viewed the planet from above, getting this amazing cosmic view, or even projecting to what felt like an alien world. These aren't just reported as vivid dreams, but as distinct conscious experiences of being detached from the physical body, offering insights that just transcend ordinary perception. This ability to detach awareness, well, it fundamentally challenges our basic ideas about consciousness and its limits, suggesting it's not just a brain product, but maybe something more expansive, potentially independent. It really forces you to reconsider what consciousness is and what it might be capable of beyond our physical form.
And right alongside that expansion of consciousness is the idea of spiritual growth and transformation. The material suggests these astral experiences are powerful paths for deep spiritual and personal development. It's more than just exploring, it's about a transformative journey.
Yes, such journeys are believed to foster a deeper connection with the divine, leading to fundamental transformation and new beginnings. The sources mention potentially activating Kundalini energy. That's the dormant energy often described in Eastern traditions at the base of the spine. When awakened, maybe through spiritual practice or intense experiences like astral projection, it's said to lead to profound spiritual awakenings, expanded awareness, enlightenment. There's also talk of reclaiming locked soul fragments, a concept from shamanic or esoteric beliefs, where parts of your essence might get separated due to trauma or grief. The astral journey in this view offers a way to reintegrate these pieces, leading to greater wholeness, deeper self-understanding. Through these experiences, people are said to navigate universal portals, not physically, but as access points to higher consciousness, deeper truths, enabling a real recalibration of one's being.
Which leads us to one of the most intriguing and sometimes unsettling aspects: encounters with non-physical entities. The astral plane, according to these sources, isn't empty. It's depicted as populated, full of various beings, and accounts range from meeting benevolent or protective entities to those described as, well, malevolent or even parasitic.
These encounters can be incredibly vivid, very impactful. The material describes experiences with protective beings, like the Goat Man figure, who apparently appeared as pure light, offering protection, guidance. In one account, this being shielded someone from shadow entities said to feed on fear. The interaction with this Goat Man entity was profound. It reportedly shared insights that the meaning of life is to experience assurance of safety after death, and that everyone in the universe is connected. Its true form was described as pure light, emphasizing its non-physical, transcendent nature.
So it's not just an encounter, it's like a direct philosophical download. It challenges basic assumptions about existence, consciousness, what being even means. More than just interaction, it's revelation.
Precisely. But conversely, the sources also detail malevolent entities, those said to feed on fear, making your emotional state absolutely critical during these experiences. What's notable is that while these encounters feel intensely real, sometimes even resulting in perceived physical effects like soreness afterwards, the sources stress that actual physical injury doesn't happen, reinforcing that the astral realm is distinct from the physical. The ability to banish negative entities is also highlighted, often by invoking spiritual figures or generating strong emotional responses like anger or just unwavering focus. This really underscores the interactive, responsive nature of this plane and the power of your own mind and emotions within it. It suggests consciousness, even out of body, has agency, protective power.
Moving beyond the individual, what about wider societal effects? The material suggests a profound influence on collective consciousness and societal behavior. It mentions elemental essence on the astral plane, responding to collective thoughts, feelings, and desires, creating what are called thought forms or artificial elementals. These energetic constructs are then said to significantly influence things like national and race feelings.
This implies a really powerful unseen layer influencing human societies. If our collective thoughts and feelings can actually create these thought forms on the astral plane, then these entities could, in turn, impact our shared reality, shaping prejudices, amplifying collective emotions like fear or anger, influencing the whole collective mental atmosphere. Think about the power of widely held beliefs or narratives. If these translate into energetic forms that then permeate collective awareness, it suggests a feedback loop. Our inner states profoundly affecting outer societal conditions. It offers a compelling, though obviously speculative, way to think about deeply ingrained societal patterns, maybe even historical trends.
So these thought forms basically become energetic entities that can subtly guide or reinforce collective human behavior, like an invisible psychic current.
Exactly. And if you connect this to the bigger historical view, those widespread legends across cultures about sudden changes or cataclysmic history, often tied to geology or other events, maybe they hint at deep collective memories or influences possibly linked to these non-physical interactions. It suggests our collective reality isn't just shaped by visible, tangible forces, but also by an unseen energetic landscape that's highly responsive to our shared consciousness, inviting us to see a more integrated, dynamic link between our inner world and outer reality.
As we go deeper, it's clear the understanding of these phenomena, especially portals and astral experiences, has changed a lot over time. Let's explore that evolution and shifting perceptions. There's a definite progression from ancient, often ritualistic practices like the sacrifices at Pluto's gate to talk to the underworld to more individual, intentional explorations of consciousness like those by Muldoon and Urim.
This progression really highlights a fundamental shift in how humanity has approached these non-physical realms. The ancient rituals at Pluto's gate, with public ceremonies, the gas, the sacrifices, that was a very physical, collective attempt to bridge worlds, an outward community expression. Contrast that with the modern view of astral projection as a highly personal internal journey, often done privately for personal insight. It reflects a societal evolution in how this knowledge is pursued, moving from communal, outward acts to more internalized personal quests. It signals a changing relationship with the subtle dimensions, maybe from awe and appeasement to more direct, conscious exploration.
This historical shift brings us right to a key point in the hypothesis we're examining today: the veiling of knowledge. Our sources argue that mainstream scientific communities, often operating with what's called a materialistic bias, have effectively blinded themselves to much of what constitutes this universe. They bring up the concept of the ether, for example, an old idea of a primeval essence that esoteric philosophy sees as vital for light, even the origin of particles. But modern physics has largely discredited it.
Indeed. The source material details the split quite clearly. Modern physics, especially after the Michelson-Morley experiment and Einstein's relativity, came to see the idea of a luminiferous ether, a medium for light waves, as unnecessary. Einstein's theories seem to explain space and time without needing it, but esoteric philosophy holds that a form of ether does exist, just much more refined, more subtle than the physical ether scientists were trying to detect. This creates a profound veiling of information, where subtle dimensions are either ignored, deemed outside conventional science, or only just starting to be touched on by new paradigms. And this contrasts sharply with what are called ageless wisdom traditions, ancient spiritual lineages that have consistently acknowledged and explored these subtle realities for millennia, often through direct experience, inner work. It suggests a potential limitation in a purely materialistic scientific view for grasping the full scope of reality.
So a different lens, different assumptions about reality lead to totally different conclusions about what's real. And despite this general veiling or public dismissal, the sources hint at selective institutional engagement and control. The mention of military psychics and remote viewing protocols, specifically linked to astral projection, strongly suggests certain government or military bodies have actively looked into and maybe even used these abilities.
It creates a striking paradox, doesn't it? On one side, broad public unawareness, even dismissal. On the other, evidence of quiet, focused interest, even research from powerful institutions. Remote viewing, for instance, that's the claimed psychic ability to get info on a distant target. It was the subject of actual classified U.S. government projects like the Stargate project. These projects use people described as military psychics exploring altered states, including techniques like astral projection for intelligence gathering. This gap between public understanding and institutional engagement naturally fuels speculation about intentional non-disclosure. If these abilities are real and useful enough for classified investigation, why isn't this knowledge more widely shared or discussed? What's deemed acceptable for public discourse versus kept in controlled circles? What are the implications?
This brings us to how these experiences are seen today. We're seeing modern interpretations and accessibility. Experiences once labeled purely paranormal are now being framed in broader spiritual, psychological, maybe even emerging scientific ways. The idea of false awakenings or seeing portals in lucid dreams like an unfamiliar door or passage are sometimes considered non-lucid forms of astral travel, suggesting a whole spectrum of related experiences.
A key figure here is Robert Moreau. He approached astral projection from a very non-religious standpoint, focused on the experience, the observable aspects of OBEs, not specific spiritual dogma. His pioneering work, including developing audio tech to help induce these states, helped create a modern, more secular framework for discussing it. This approach kind of demystified it, made it more accessible to a wider audience. People may be put off by purely spiritual language. While it's still largely outside mainstream science, Monroe's systematic exploration pushed the discussion towards something more experiential, maybe even reproducible, inviting individual exploration.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? What's the practical relevance and implications for your view of reality, your own potential? First, the sources offer practical guidance for empowering personal exploration. It's not just theory. There's actionable advice for trying intentional astral projection. Methods, conditions.
Yes, the guidance includes things like finding a peaceful time and place, getting deeply relaxed physically, setting a clear intention for the experience, also regular practice to develop the skill, and importantly, setting protective intentions like visualizing a shield of light or calling on spiritual protection. This whole approach suggests it's not just for a gifted few, but maybe a skill individuals can cultivate through discipline and effort. It demystifies the process somewhat, presenting it as something you could develop, not just a random event, offering a path to direct experience, moving from belief to potentially verifiable exploration.
Beyond a personal experience, these ideas invite a potentially deeper understanding of reality. The implications really challenge conventional views of existence. The idea that everyone in the universe is connected, that there are infinite realities at different levels of vibration, and that our physical life is just one small sliver of what is possible. It compels you to consider a much vaster, multidimensional cosmos.
In this bigger picture, the astral body is seen as a crucial bridge, the way consciousness interacts with these different planes. It's believed to be how we receive and send impressions that shape our perceived reality. This suggests a fundamental rethink of our worldview. From a single physical reality to a multi-layered existence where our normal waking state is just one part of a much larger whole. It suggests reality is far more fluid, more expansive than we usually think, inviting a profound reconsideration of our place in the cosmos, the true nature of consciousness.
And here's a significant practical point. The power of thought and intent. The concept of thought forms or artificial elementals, these energetic constructs made by our thoughts, feelings, desires, it highlights the huge impact our internal states might have on the external world and these subtle astral realms. It emphasizes a direct personal responsibility for the energetic influences we send out.
Plus, the sources detailed this dynamic interplay between consciousness and non-physical entities. They note that fear, a powerful emotion, seems to empower negative entities, making you more vulnerable. Conversely, focused intention, clear thought, even strong emotional responses like righteous anger are presented as effective ways to banish or repel them. This offers a unique way to think about emotional dynamics, mental control, especially in these extraordinary contexts. It strongly suggests your internal state isn't passive. It actively shapes your experience in these realms. It's both a shield and a tool. The consistent advice about overcoming fear to navigate these experiences really underscores the importance of mental and emotional mastery.
Finally, a recurring and critical theme throughout our deep dive is this idea of veiled or unacknowledged knowledge, especially regarding the scientific community's materialistic bias towards subtle dimensions, and that documented historical government interest in things like remote viewing. This perspective really encourages a critical look at what's presented as known, what's widely accepted.
Which raises a really important, compelling question for you, the listener. What might be known, or what capacities might exist within consciousness and reality that aren't widely discussed or recognized publicly? And what are the profound implications if that knowledge were more broadly integrated into how we understand the universe? It's about looking beyond the familiar, questioning the perceived limits of conventional understanding, and maybe considering a broader, more inclusive view of reality itself, challenging us to stay open to possibilities beyond our current frameworks.
So, as you consider the ancient tales of physical portals to the underworld, the symbolic weight of holy doors and cosmic alignments, the theoretical physics of wormholes, and the profound personal accounts of astral projection, we invite you to ponder the intricate connections between these seemingly different ideas. What might it mean for our understanding of reality, and yes, our own potential, if these different forms of portals were more widely acknowledged or more deeply understood? This deep dive certainly raises important questions about the fundamental nature of existence and the information that shapes our collective understanding. Thanks for listening to Conspiracist.